Now, let's go ahead and take a look at a basic HTML document where we are implementing a very simple, very straightforward, responsive design strategy. Now, we're going to begin, of course, by making sure we are adding our meta element, which is going to allow us to add and or take some control of the function. And I'm going to keep, for this example, and for many of the examples, I'm going to keep the CSS within the head of the document. Now, if you have a multi-page website or a site with many pages, then linking your CSS is the right thing to do. In smaller documents, by keeping the CSS in the head of the document, then we are going to likely going to reduce requests on the server, which should, I'm not going to say it's going to speed up our process, but it certainly should stop the process of loading from being longer. Okay, always something you're thinking about. You're not just thinking about the aesthetics. You're not just thinking about the art direction. You are thinking about the performance. Being said, in our style tag, I'm going to start this off by establishing the body. And the body is just going to have a white background. Now, typically, the first CSS declarations or declaration blocks will be for the mobile environment, the base or the root level mobile environment, whatever that is you're targeting. Okay, so the way I'm setting this up as a demonstration is you will now see the comment mobile. So I'm going to have a media query for what we are going to establish as a mobile aspect ratio. And very common for a mobile device, you are going to have a width of that viewport in portrait mode of 360 pixels. That's pretty common. And then we tend to go up to about 480. So I'm going to throw in some numbers here, and this is more just for a demonstration. But at the same time, I'm trying to take into consideration a device in portrait mode and potentially being rotated into landscape mode. And we want to be careful of a crossover between a mobile in portrait, which then rotates to landscape, and then that landscape equates to what a tablet might be in portrait. Okay, so there's a lot of if, ands, or there's going on here, but this is something you're going to have to experiment with. All right, so being said, we're going to have our media query. So if we go over and we take a look at our media queries here on W3 Schools, we'll see that we have at media only screen and max width 600. So there's different ways to write your media queries. And in this particular example, we're saying only the screen, and then we're using an operator of and. So we're saying only screen and what follows before this declaration is executed, if you will. Okay, so basically the @media rule is used in a media query to apply different styles for different media types or devices. Media queries can be used to check many things, such as the width and height of the viewport, width and height of the device, orientation, is the tablet, phone in landscape or portrait mode, and we can also check for resolution. All right, let's scroll down just a little bit further here, and let's take a quick look at some of our meanings for our keywords. So if we were to think back to the only part, at media only. So the only keyword prevents older browsers that do not support media queries with media features from applying the specified styles. It has no effect on modern browsers. The not keyword inverts the meaning of an entry, of an entire media query. It's going to do the reverse. And the and keyword combines a media feature with a media type or other media features. Okay, so you can explore this page you can just do a search on W3 Schools for media queries, and you can explore this page for a lot more information for features which you can use for media queries. Okay, now let's go back to our example. And what I'm going to point out here is, again, our root, our base for the body of the document. We're setting the background to white. And this is the base. This is assuming that the width of the device is less than 360 pixels. Then I have a query which is basically dealing with a screen and a minimum width of 360 pixels and another operator and max width. So let's just go back here real quickly. And when I say and not, these are logical operators. They're used to perform logical operations. All right. There are 4 different types of operators. So we can have assignment operators, comparison operators. Okay. I always have a tough time with this word. I'm not a programmer, so I don't say it all the time, but concatenation operators. Okay. And then we have what I mentioned first, our logical operators. Now, let's go back. And again, we have a media query for a device. The device is a mobile device. What we're doing is a query to test if we are between a minimum amount and a maximum amount. If this query is true, then our background color will be green. Now we have a media query for a tablet. And now we're testing to see if a minimum width is between 800 and 1079. And you'll notice that this width up here is 799. Then we go 800. Okay, 1 pixel difference. And then finally we have our desktop. Okay, so let's see what happens. And I can do so quickly right here. I'm using Dreamweaver. So if this is my viewport, what we see right here, you'll notice that the background is white because the viewport is less than 360 pixels. Soon as we reach 360 pixels and do not exceed a max of 799, then our background color is going to be this dark green. Once we pass 799 and hit 800 to 1079, then we'll get yellow. And then once we exceed the 1079 and meet a minimum width of 1080, we get this red background. So I'm only using color to demonstrate that we use media queries to simply test what the width of the viewport is. So we can use minimums, we could use maximums, we can use combination of minimum and maximum, or we could just call out a width. Okay, so we could just say at media screen width 360 and leave it at that, 360. Or you can test for a span of width. And obviously, as I mentioned, we can test or we can establish minimum and maximum. What is of importance is the ability to test the user's device width and then provide to them the art direction and the performance which best suits their user experience.